Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Resilience Resourcing Podcast. This is a connection space where badass women share their real on their way to resilience. Each week, I have the pleasure of spotlighting women dominating in a diverse landscape of fields ranging from performance neurotraining to film and all in between. You will get to know the unique qualities these women each carry and how connecting with these empowering women's stories bring about camaraderie and in turn empower you towards your unique dreams and goals. So, how are you? It's been forever since I've talked to you, since Starbucks days.
But I follow you on Facebook and on the Instagram, and so I do kind of get caught up with what all the things going on with Holly, which I love.
Same, yeah.
I'm great. Life is grand. I really can't complain. It's been a long road since I saw you last, obviously. I think it's been years.
I was trying to remember that. Yeah, because 2010 or 2011. Did you leave Starbucks before me or after?
I moved stores is what it was. I went out to a drive-through on 99 and
okay.
out there for a while, and then Nissan actually stole me.
Nissan? I want to hear this story.
So I bought a car at Nissan, and the lady in the finance department who sold me the car was so impressed with me. They actually they were on their way to come to Starbucks to offer me a job. When I showed up to the dealership in my pajamas, pick up my license plate, and they were like, "Oh my God, we were on our way to Starbucks to go see you today." And I said, "Well, ironically, I am here." So we had an interview in my pajamas.
This is amazing.
Well, what do we have to do to get you to come to Nissan? What will convince you to leave Starbucks and come to Nissan? And I said, "You can double my salary, and then we can talk."
Yeah.
So they did. They offered me double my salary at Starbucks, and they offered me a really great benefit package. And I left Starbucks and worked for them for a while.
Now that's pretty incredible. And, I know from working with you that you were one of the funnest people to work with. So I think you definitely probably have that knack for making people want to listen to you. And I'm guessing that's part of what you use. Did you work in sales or finance or what?
So I worked in the service department, and I was the first point of contact. They essentially used me to give the pickle. I had to give bad news, but I also had to be the bearer of the good news, right? And it was my job to make sure that regardless of the service situation, because no one likes service, right? No one likes to hear that
they're never there for when they're in a good mood
on their car that they bought. So it was my job to make sure that everybody was happy, and I did the best that I could. And it was a tough job. It was a tough make sure that everyone was happy, and there are some people that are just unreasonable.
I think we saw that at Starbucks too. In fact, I remember when I started remember that lady, I don't know who she was, but that lady that got kicked out of all those Starbucks, and she happened to always come to our Starbucks. I don't remember her name, but I know she made everybody make her drink like 5 times.
I remember that. And I thought, as I made her drink to her exact specifications, and even if I had made it several times and it still wasn't right, I knew that wasn't a me problem.
Yep.
This isn't there are some things that are me problems, and all the me problems that when you're dealing with the general public are fixable. But if it's a them problem and they're just dumping all their garbage on you, there is no saving grace. There's no we're gonna fix this, because you can't fix broken.
Nope. You can't. And I don't know. I think that lady, for some reason, I found some kind of joy in trying to. I knew that nothing that I really did having to make her drink would meet her expectations, but I found some joy in just trying to, give that excellent customer service experience no matter what she did, because it just was a challenge, I think. And I think that was fun, but I feel like we just had the funnest team. Like, I'll still look back at that team that we had when we were there. I feel like it was just all of us were so unique, and we all kind of just had a good time. And Stacy was, I should tell her to watch this podcast, but she was a fun boss.
She's an excellent team builder. And I think that's why she's been so successful in her career for the length of time that she's been with Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I, as someone who's been in business and now, taking companies public and I've done more than one entrepreneurial project, you need to have someone that can build it and maintain. Because a lot of people can build a team, but maintaining a team and making sure that team is a well-oiled machine it takes a very specific type of person that knows how to corral cats.
Yeah. herd cattle, they say it in all different kinds of ways, but yeah, that's totally true. And that's what I want to hear about, because I'd seen, like, on social media, I'd seen you talking here and there about I thought for a minute I thought I saw stuff about a Shiro or something like that you were working on, and then you
30.
told me the other aspect of the thing that you made public. And I think you said you guys sold it to a company, and then it's been on the national stock exchange. Is that correct?
The New York Stock Exchange. So
incredible.
While working as a consultant in the cannabis industry, I also served on the board of Be a Hero Foundation, and Be a Hero Foundation that just hits so big home for me, because human and sex trafficking is not a choice.
Nope.
You don't have that choice. And there's so many women out there that are, abused mentally and verbally, and that truly believe that they have no self-worth, or they're sold by their parents when they're so young that they don't understand or comprehend that they have value.
Yeah.
I served 3 years on the board.
Wow.
I created my own position, which was corporate sponsorship, and I have found 3 people to continue. We not only did I develop that position for that charity, but I expanded on it. So now that not just one person sits in that board position, there's 3.
Wow.
There is corporate sponsorship in a monthly and weekly, quarterly, annual, that is a full-time job. It definitely takes every bit of the 120 hours. I think they upped the mandatory hour requirement for that charity, because it is basically 100% volunteer run.
Wow.
So you have to really not only use all of your business assets, in a sense that you have to be able to ask people for money. Yeah. And that's tough for a lot of people, right? Yeah. Because they don't even feel value in themselves. How can they possibly believe in something enough to say, hey, I'm working for this charity, would you like to write me a check for $80,000?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you help them feel empowered to do that?
Well, they had asked me to help out in the events category, and become a co-chair for the events. And I desperately saw a need, because everybody was we were getting ready for our annual gala. I think they're on their 7th gala this year, where everybody was going out and asking everyone for money. There was no tracking of who was getting and finding what. And I saw this as a massive problem, right? Because if you're a nonprofit and your only source of income is at that point, it was basically, the few companies that were essentially founders of this charity that would be donating monthly or weekly or quarterly or whatever. And then, I think there was probably like 30 people that were main supporters to the board, that were just looking for money. Well, if you don't have someone that is at the top of that pyramid saying, okay, well, you're going to do charity funding or charity sponsorships for the event, and you're going to do monthly and you're going to do quarterly, and you have to know where to go look. You can't just you can't just walk into a store and be like, hey, I'm with so and such charity or a casino or a bank. There's specific steps that you have to go through, and some of them require grant writing, which is also another specific skill. And if you just have everybody kind of like doing this, it's a cluster. So I sat down with the board and I said, hey, I greatly appreciate, you guys wanting me to help you with the event. I said, I'm happy to do that. However, I think you're seriously missing out on a skill that I have where I can help you not only organize your funds, but get into a program where we're not only getting funds for the gala, but we're also getting sponsorships monthly, quarterly, and annually. Because I think we're really missing a huge piece of that pie. And they loved it. And they're like, well, we have no idea how we would even do that. And I said, well, give me some time. Let me figure out what I think is best. And so I wrote my SOP. I wrote what my job description was. I sat down and really thought, like, how could I most best benefit and what would be the best course of action in order for me to get what I would call sustainable income for the charity. Who would be the best supporters? How would I contact them? Who would be the best way, or what would be the best way for me to get in and figure out what these particular companies really need from me in order for me to become one of their sponsors? Because I don't know if you know this, but every large major corporation has a charity fund. But whether it be a bank or Starbucks or
and it's a tax write-off for them, so it's an incentive. It's incentivized for them.
It is an incentive for them. And during the time that I was sitting on the board, human and sex trafficking was a huge topic. In fact, I was recognized by the Senate and by Congress and got a special recognition awards from both the House and the Senate.
What? Katy, that is incredible.
Yeah.
Jeez, no wonder I can just tell, and I've been able to tell since we've been talking, like even before we got on here, just how happy you are. Like, you got your priorities straight, and it seems like you're just living very fulfilled because you are doing things that are incredibly fulfilling. Like, that's
completely incredible. All things that were not fulfilling, that did not make me feel good in my heart. If I couldn't get behind it, I got rid of it.
That is just what gave you the kind of motivation or like empowerment to go towards these things, because you worked at Starbucks and you worked at Nissan, and you're just that person that just, I remember you so well in like the fun like music that we would have playing, and just how we would like kind of shoot the shit but have a good time, and like you make people feel known and cared for. I think that's just who you are. But like, how did you get out of kind of a customer service industry and more into like nonprofit and doing that kind of thing?
I got divorced and I went crazy.
That's probably typical of a lot of people that go through that.
Yeah, I think that you kind of, I needed to, and I like went through this whole period of like reformation, right? Because now I don't have my husband anymore. I didn't have all of these things that I had planned on having for the rest of my life. And it was like, okay, how the heck am I going to do this? And how the heck am I going to start over? And I had always been in the cannabis industry, even when working with you at Starbucks. I had this on the side. It was just kind of something that I love to do. And I kind of, that I really just pushed myself into. I just said, I've done this for years. I know what I'm doing and I can do it well, and I'm going to run with that. And then I started consulting in Las Vegas before I had moved to Las Vegas. And I met this amazing woman who is now my mentor. And she reached into my soul and she pulled me out and she said, you have so much to offer. I'd really love to have you be a part of my team. She says, I can't offer you money, but I can offer you so much more.
Mentorship is a huge thing. Like, it is priceless in a lot of ways.
It is. It is. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize the value of what she was offering me at the time
Yeah.
because, I was still so broken
Yeah.
and apart. And she said to me, I don't normally take women your age because she does typically stick to girls who are under 25, and I was already in my 30s. She goes, but I see so much greatness in you that you're missing out on, and I want to bring that out.
Yeah.
And she just, I delved head first. I didn't even care. Like it just, and then when she told me the topic and like what I could do and how I could really empower other women,
Yeah.
uh, to that were going through some of the same things I was going through mentally, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're divorced and your mental state is just all over the place and you have this like feeling of less, I'm not
Less
good,
than. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The best way to get rid of that is to go empower other people.
It's amazing.
And that's what
Yeah.
I just I just pushed myself. I threw myself into that charity and I did everything that they told me, to do. And then I sat back after I was fully involved and I said, wow, there's so much I can do here. And
Hmm.
and from there, it was like every day got better. I met a woman in the cannabis, and I moved to Las Vegas. I met a
Yeah.
woman in the industry. I got interviewed for Time Magazine, and then yeah, yeah,
What?
and then he introduced me to this wonderful woman in Las Vegas, and we hit it off immediately. I immediately started consulting for her and her company, and then we became basically business partners. And I helped her sell her company to the company that decided they were going to do IPO on the NASDAQ. And we went through that whole merger, and then we went through IPO, which is a very difficult thing to do.
I can't even
Uh,
imagine.
and then after that, I really hated the deeply disappointing men in authoritative positions that don't deserve to be there.
Oh, girl,
Um,
I can, yes.
and so I sent them a really nice letter about how I had worked for Microsoft and that was a less toxic company than working for them. And that I hope
Way to
that
go.
I wish them the best in their future endeavors, but it wasn't going to include me. And not even 6 months after I left the company, when I left, the stock was trading around roughly about $7, and then it was at 2. So to go to say that they should have probably never let me go would have
Yeah.
been for them, but there was no way that I was going to continue to work in that type of a toxic environment. It is, I don't care how much money they're offering you or what they're telling
No.
you to get. Um, None of it is worth your sanity. None of it
No.
is worth your mental health. No amount of money in the world will ever bring
No.
you peace.
That's 100% true. But I feel like we're slowly getting there because women are finally like, no, like, no. But that's it's been difficult and it still is difficult. It's not easy to do that. Like it takes a mental toll. I mean, but I think knowing your value and knowing what you're gonna that's kind of my passion for this whole podcast is to empower women and have empowering women share of their way of overcoming this bullshit that happens, the adversity and the things that they come against. And I mean, if you've even watched any of the podcasts so far, I'm just like blown away, completely humbled by like women who are doing this over and over and over again against like the worst odds in the world. And my mouth just like drops every time because I'm like, holy crap, like this is a rising of women to just be like, no, like this is what we will tolerate. And it's just it is important for people to be able to share that and to be able to be strong in their own like integrity and their own values and that's super badass. Like I'm just I'm so proud of you that you like did that and just stood up and was like, well, see ya. Like,
It's taken me a long time to really truly understand my self-worth, and it was a lot of work.
mm-hmm.
It was
Yep.
a lot of work,
Yep.
personal work where I really had to dig deep in my soul and figure out like, what do I really want?
Yep.
I because I think as women, right, we are constantly taking input from everyone, right? Because everybody feels like they need to tell us what to do.
Yep.
We need help.
Yep.
We're the girl. We need the help, right? So, which I appreciate. I love anybody that wants to give me some pointers. And even if 99% of what you tell me sucks and 1% changes my life, awesome,
Yeah,
right?
because curiosity and growth, you get to learn something, you gain something, even if the 99% isn't a gain, 1% is.
Right. It's still a gain.
Yeah.
So, but I think that we as women are constantly bombarded with, well, you should do this and you should do that. And this is how things should be. That we're constantly like not taking our own opinions, but we're listening to everybody, what everybody else is saying and saying, well, maybe this is what I should do. And I can tell you, I did that for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
The minute I decided no more F's. This
Mm-hmm.
is about me. That's when my whole life changed.
Yep.
Sure, I appreciate your opinion and I will listen to it with a smile on my face.
Yep.
But if it doesn't work for me, then that just doesn't work for me.
Yep.
And I go on with whatever works for me because
Yeah.
that is truly what that is for me what truly changed my life.
Yeah.
Because once I started putting me first, everything else just kind of fell in line.
It's
The
alignment. That's what happens when you heal and go through. I mean, I did, and I still have done years of therapy. And every time you get to another level of alignment with yourself to where you actually attract those things that are you.
yeah, I love that you're in therapy and talk about it because
Oh,
I
heck yeah.
everyone needs terapi. I've had
100%.
thousands of hours of therapy, not only
Same.
from my therapist, from my mentor, from my peers, from
Yep.
people who I want to know their opinion. I want to talk about true things that matter.
Yeah.
Let's really get into this.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
I think
important. Like therapy is just like going to the gym, in my
yeah,
opinion. Like every
yeah,
single person should be doing it. And the people, there's kind of a joke. The people that aren't doing it, the people that are doing it because of the people that are not doing it. Like it is so important. Like therapy is something I have absolutely no um I don't have any uh embarrassment or anything. And
yeah.
I mean Hollywood now, everybody talks about therapy, it's normal. But I think for a while there was too much stigma around it, and I'm so happy to hear that you are just doing it and totally proud of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I advocate for therapy all the time. You
Yeah.
know, I really think that we need to normalize mental health. I
Hmm.
think we need to normalize that people aren't normal. I think that we need to normalize that it's okay to ask for help.
Yes.
I cannot
Yes.
do this. This whole me generation, I don't need anyone. I can do this on my own. None of that works.
Nope.
I could where I am today if the people in my life hadn't helped raise me up, right? If my mentor had
100%.
come in and literally reached down into my soul and said, you are better and bigger than this, and I'm going to help you find that person,
Yeah.
I might be where I am today.
I mean, there's so many stories like that. Like it really comes down to your community and the people that end up being part of your story. And like there's everybody's story includes somebody. And I created resilience resourcing because my whole goal was to I did research in college on the familial dynamic that I recognized just from my own life, um, of support that had a big impact on me overcoming things that I had to go through. I had the traumatic brain injury, and I was in a coma for a week. I had a lot of things that I had to relearn and kind of work through, and setbacks and all of that. And when I looked at it and I kind of looked back at it, I was like, I could not have done what I did without the support system that I had. And then I realized there's so many people out there that don't have that support system. And it's I did a whole independent research project and found that the biggest factor in resilience is support, familial support. And
Yeah.
so the goal was to create a network of people who can create family is what you make it. It's not your blood, it's whoever you end up making it. And so that's my whole goal with this um this brand and everything that I've created is to tear down the stigma and create a space where people can feel like they have family, like they have supportive people who have different resources that they can gain from, because that's really what family is. Family, each person brings in a different resource, a different dynamic. And I mean, I've just been absolutely amazed by how many different people that have been part of the podcast, that were part of the first retreat that I did, and have so many resources to offer the public. And it's like, we need to get together and we need to make this happen. Like, people need people. People need to know there's resources out there. Therapy is expensive. It is not affordable for the giant majority of people who really need it. And
Right.
so that's a big part of what I do as well, is bringing those things. Like, that was at my last retreat, experiential sessions where people got in group therapy and did sessions together. And there's all different aspects of therapy. There's soul collage, there's, which is basically art. Then there's mental health is holistic health. It's all about body. Like, you work in the cannabis industry and you understand how that, I'm sure you understand how that has helped people a lot. I mean, a lot of people with mental health have been able to benefit from the different properties of cannabis and how it helps calm your nervous system and all of that. And it's
Well,
all of those things.
entire system in our body that we've been neglecting,
Yeah.
an entire endocannabinoid system in our bodies, which I believe truly and wholly in my soul that because we have been neglecting our endocannabinoid system, which is keyed into every single system that we already have, whether it be our circulatory systems, our neurological systems, our respiratory systems, our immune systems, our lymphatic systems. We have been denying the cannabinoids in our systems for so long that it has created this massive mental health crisis. Because then I cannot tell you how many times I've been with someone for the first time where they're experiencing cannabis and they're crying
Yeah.
because they finally have some kind of that like relief,
Yeah.
stress, or whether it be like, oh my God, I can just finally relax my brain,
Yeah.
right? Or I don't
Yeah.
feel so overwhelmed right now. Truly believe that if we start to nurture all of our bodies, mind,
Yeah.
spirit, soul, that
Hmm.
that then we'll start to actually be able to overcome this mental health crisis that we're having. I also
100%.
think that social media has a lot to do with it.
100%.
We're going through this whole, well, such and such is doing this and such has this and I don't have this in my life. And so we're not looking inside for
Yeah.
fulfillment, for fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
And that's really where fulfillment comes from. It's never going to come from external sources.
Nope.
It has
Never.
You have to get right with God or whomever.
Yeah.
Just figure it out and
Yeah.
stop leaning on what everybody else has.
Yeah,
Um,
because external, you're looking for a something outside of you to fulfill you, and like that's the biggest thing you learn in therapy is how much when you heal on the inside,
yeah,
then you are attracting those things, but you don't have to like run towards it or beg for it or whatever, because when you're doing that, you're looking for something else to fulfill you, which never does.
yeah, you're right. It
Yeah.
does not. So my personal favorite therapy and the one therapy that I truly believed helped me the most was the cognitive behavioral therapy.
That's a
I
huge one, yeah.
really felt like that gave me direction.
Mhm.
It allowed me to see situations that I didn't see before. And I really think that I'm loving watching the advancements of the new therapy techniques come through because I am avid about taking care of my mental health. I
Yeah.
mean, healthcare. I'm retired and I take mental health care days.
Awesome. Good. You should. No matter what you do, every person should do that.
I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I think we should all have a day of rest every week because I'm busy. I'm
I
retired.
actually was thinking about that the other day because, that's something the Bible actually talks about, which, everybody has their own belief system. But I always thought, that's something that a lot of people of faith don't even really practice anymore. But it's pretty basic aspect of being human is needing a day of rest.
Yeah. I mean, God commanded it in the Bible, so I think we should
I
listen.
think we should listen. Maybe
Pretty
we should
smart
do that.
He's a
Might be
pretty-
a good idea. It's like, yeah, I 100% agree. I think that we're just so consumed. We're such a consumer culture. All we think about is consuming the next thing. And like, it's hard. Like, when you first start doing therapy, if you've never done it before, like, spending time by yourself can be some of the hardest parts of like dealing with your stuff, is because you're like, oh, like I don't want to be like with myself, like I don't like how I feel, and then you have to deal with that.
Right.
And we don't even give ourselves time to even think about that in this culture, because everything's consumerism. There's advertisements everywhere. There's social media telling you all kinds of things that you should be doing, or who you should be, or how much you should make, or whatever it is. And I could tell, I think, I've just been, since we've been friends, since I knew you from Starbucks and then social media, seeing all your stuff, like it has been super obvious that you're really big on mental health. And like, I think that is something that like every person that has a platform needs to like scream from the rooftops until it's just completely like uh something that isn't taboo. Like, I still to this day don't understand how it is in some aspects taboo to certain people. And I feel like we've been talking about mental health for the last 5 to 10 years, but it's
I agree with you, and I think that I think it's hard for us to admit we're not perfect, right? And Holly, I'll be the first person to tell you, I've been in the hospital 4 times. I've
yeah,
literally 4 mental health crises where
yeah,
I should and had to go into the hospital,
yeah.
and that's
That
okay.
shouldn't be something you should ever feel embarrassed about. You should be able to say that. People go to the hospital for having a heart attack. Why can't you go to the hospital for having a mental breakdown?
Well, because, we're supposed to be freaking perfect, and how could I possibly not have my shit together? I mean, I just had someone tell me the other day, "You look like you don't need anybody to help you at all." And I thought to myself, "Wow, first of all, that person's really insecure with themselves that they had to say that to me, and then two, they must really wish that they had what I have, but what I have isn't I didn't get here alone."
Nope.
Right?
Projection is kind of the biggest it's the biggest way to know when somebody is triggered, is when they project on you. So basically that's them noticing something in you that they wish they had, and kind of using it as like an insult. I've dealt with that so much that I finally just got to the point where I was like, wow, that's interesting that you think that.
Because I know it's kind of like, what's going on here? This isn't a me problem.
Not
That's
a
the
me
other-
problem, yeah.
That's